Okay, good morning. It is 8 a.m. Wednesday morning. I just got to campus right now. The semester has officially started, and today, this morning, in about an hour, I'm taking my comprehensive exams for my PhD. So this is around like a 3-hour oral exam. No like written component, no cheat sheets and stuff. We're just like getting asked questions by a 5-person committee for a few hours. And they're basically trying to like test the limits of your knowledge. One, to see that you know like all of the really important stuff that's relevant to your dissertation topic, but also like to see where that knowledge ends. So it's a very like tough situation to actually win. You just want to kind of do your best, show them everything you know, but it's like a really high stress situation, so I'm feeling pretty nervous right now. Like I've studied for like 6 weeks now, at least, of like focused studying, and now I'm ready for it to be over, and I'm really nervous. My stomach is feeling a little funny too, but I have 2 teas, so I have like my caffeine for this morning. I got a chai latte from Morning Brew, and I made myself a normal chai black tea. Anyway, I won't chat for too long, so I have enough time to like find the room, get set up, go to the restroom before the exam, and mentally prep. I wanted to like meditate or something to get out of my head, but I didn't this morning. I just kind of like blasted music the whole way here, sang to the top of my lungs, and yeah, I'm gonna try to calm down a little bit. But yeah, I'm really excited to let you guys know what the results of this exam are, because it's been taking up my life for far too long now, and I'm ready to move on. All right, I'll check in with you guys a little bit later. Now I'm just waiting. I don't even know how much time it's been, maybe like 10 minutes or something. We'll see. Okay, so I passed my exam. It is 12:46, exam is over. It's a strange feeling, like the past 6 weeks and everything, I think even more than 6 weeks, maybe even 8 weeks, has been focused on like, I gotta pass my comps, so I've been putting off like everything, so many just life things that I wanted to do, a little bit of YouTube and like all of the YouTubers and podcasts that I like listening to, because everything felt like a distraction from focusing on my comps. So it's really an amazing feeling to be on the other side of it. It's done. I don't have to worry about that right now. Yeah, I guess just thinking about general feelings toward the exam, or what the exam was like, I was really nervous last night for some reason. I think because I knew I wanted to like cram more information in. I wanted to study. I wanted to practice my short presentation that I was going to give before the comprehensive exams. But I don't know. 1, there's not enough time. 2, is that really like how you should be spending the evening before? Maybe it's better to just like relax. Because there's only so much you can prepare and like retain the night before. I found it like very difficult to sleep. I don't think this is too much caffeine related. I think it was just like nerves, and like it's really hard to sleep when you're excited because you have like a trip coming up the next day. It was kind of like that feeling of just like excitement and I can't sleep. A little bit of worry for sure. Like I think even though I knew the odds of me failing were really not high, you know, it was possible. And I joke that it's okay either way, because if I fail the exam, I don't have to get my PhD and I can just go like all into YouTube. However, obviously there's a part of me that really cares about passing this. So it would have been a bummer if I didn't pass, mostly because I would have had to take it again, which would have just been terrible. Like to study and put all the effort into doing it again, yeah, like that idea to me seemed terrible. So I think that really was a part of me, and maybe a little bit of my ego that wanted to like, one, I've put so much work into this. If I fail, that's gonna feel bad. I like kind of wasn't too worried about embarrassing myself during the exam. I was worried about maybe like freezing up, getting really nervous and freezing up. But I wasn't embarrassed about admitting that I didn't know how something worked, because I don't know. To me, I know what I know, and I'm not gonna pretend that I know anymore. And it wasn't gonna be more embarrassing than like my Spanish class, where I really like didn't know what was going on or didn't know how to say what I wanted to say. So as long as I said something, I knew it was gonna be okay. And I felt like the nerves settled down a little bit more this morning when I woke up. I kind of just settled into like, this is my fate. Time's getting closer. I really can't do that much. Went into the room around 30 minutes before, was like struggling to set up the projector to show my slides. And as soon as I started my slideshow, it kind of felt like the nerves just completely went down. Like I was speaking, I felt like I knew what I was talking about, even if I did like struggle or stumble over a few words. I felt like I knew what I was talking about. So yeah, naturally after those 10 minutes, we got into the comprehensive exam, where I like shifted from being in the back of the room because I was sharing my slides to at the front, in front of the whiteboard with like a 5-person committee around a table. So I was at the board in front of all of these people, telling them how things worked. And I used the board like really a lot, which was nice because it allowed me to like not get lost in my thoughts, because I noticed the questions that I tried to just answer in my head, I would like forget what I said, or it was really hard to organize my thoughts. But when I wrote it down on the board, I don't know, it kind of slows down your thinking and it makes it feel much more organized, even if it's not like a diagram that you need to draw, even if it's just bullet points or words. I felt like that was super helpful. I started out really strong in the beginning, I felt, because we started with one person of my committee who I knew was going to ask me questions about the pelagic and the deep sea mining, OMZ adaptations. Like, I was very clear on what he was going to ask me. Nothing felt like a surprise, and there wasn't anything where I felt like, oh, I hope he doesn't ask me this. Very straightforward. And then the next person in my committee was my chemical person. So the first few questions, very straightforward. I was expecting them. There were many questions that I was like worried about that I didn't even get, which was good because I studied it, but maybe I didn't truly understand it. But also a little bummed that they didn't ask me because I studied it. I felt like chemical started out okay. I was still fresh. And then towards the end, he asked me something that I didn't truly understand, but I kind of like guessed my way through it. And my advisor referred to this later as like where it went a little bit sideways, because I was struggling. I was like really lost when he asked me, and I was like, I don't know. And then the next person in my committee, who's a little bit more like phytoplankton, microplankton focused, asked me building off of like his question. So I was like, great, I didn't even understand it when he said it, and now you're asking me more about something I didn't understand. But they were really nice and like walk you through the complicated parts. They're trying to like get answers out of you. They know you know the thing, or like know you can think through it. So they asked me about things like I'd never even encountered before. And I guess I like worked through it good enough. It was like a little bit tough though. And then I know the big thing with this person is that they kept asking me about like relative ranges or like abundances of phytoplankton or zooplankton across the ocean. And to be fair, this is something they told me that they were gonna ask me, but I just thought like, why sweat the details? Knowing like specific ranges is really hard. When you have to know like so many other specifics or just so many other things, it didn't seem important to me to like look up the actual numbers, mostly because if you're like writing about it, you can reference it. And that's probably something you're gonna learn over time just from like constantly hearing it, being exposed to it. But I thought, they're not gonna fail me for like not knowing the specific values. So I didn't spend much time studying it, where maybe I could have, because to be fair, she did tell me that that's what she was gonna ask me. So it was a very fair question. Then I got into my PO person, which really threw me a curveball, because he played off of some deep sea mining impacts and asked me questions about like density profiles and how that affects buoyancy, and also like what the sound seascape looks like in parts of the deep sea, because this is relevant to like noise pollution that is a potential impact of like deep sea mining, right? It's going to produce a lot of noise. So he asked me these things, which I hadn't prepared for like at all. I was expecting him to ask me like classical PO things about like circulation, I don't know, winds. So yeah, I think I kind of just like did my best to struggle through, and then finally we got to more of the stuff that felt familiar and what I actually studied. So that was good. Yeah, I also had this like really funny moment in drawing upwelling. Like, I think no matter what, I never really know how to do it. And they're like, oh, is this a top view or like depth profile? And I'm like, top view. And then turns out it was a depth profile. And I don't know. I had no idea what was going on. And I'm like kind of bad at drawing the arrows when they're going into the page or out of the page. But I think it was fine enough. You know, they didn't give me too much about it. And physical oceanography isn't my like field, so it's a little bit acceptable, I think. Then I got to my advisor's questions, and mind you, she was like the last person. Each of them gets 20 minutes. I was struggling with her stuff in the beginning. She gave me like, she really grilled me on like the molecular techniques that we're using and like parts of the genome and why they're different, and I thought I understood it, but it's like very surface level. So she got even deeper, and I'm like, you know, really struggling. And even though I have a molecular background, it felt very hard. And then she asked me very specific questions, you know, just terms that I had not heard before or didn't really remember from undergrad. I don't know. It also felt like because this was my advisor, I was supposed to do really well in this section, but she really focused on different things that I didn't expect her to focus on. And she even like pulled out some props, like some figures from papers, and asked me to explain it. And I don't know. I did my best, and I guess it was good enough. And finally the long portion was over. So this is where we got a break. After like 20 minutes per person break, maybe like a few minutes. Yeah, then the 5-minute thing, I can't really remember the questions I got. I got some of the easier questions that I was expecting, like how do you know that climate change is like human induced, and how would you explain it to like your Uber driver? And then I also got another one, like let's say someone from the ISA is the International Seabed Authority is asking you like, what do you think? What is your opinion on impacts of deep sea mining? Like, is it really as bad as people say it's going to be? And kind of like going through those scenarios. Yeah, this part went by really, really fast. My advisor took up more than the time, I think. And then I was just done. And then they're like, okay, you can like leave the room and wait. So I was waiting. I was expecting to wait for a long time. I like texted the people that I was out, that I was waiting. During this point, I actually thought that I'd done a pretty good job. Like I felt like I had a very strong start. Then it got a little difficult. Yeah, but I managed. Then it was still really difficult. Then got a little bit better, and then it got very difficult with my advisor, and then it got a little bit better. But yeah, these periods of like, oh, I'm doing really, really well, and then periods of, oh, this is really, really hard. Then you get a little bit more confidence when you can answer the questions a little bit like nicer, and then it just dips when you're like struggling. So I felt like it definitely went through periods of that during the questioning, but overall I thought I did okay. And it turns out, like, you know, they talk and stuff. I'm thinking like, oh no, there's no way they didn't like pass me. I think I knew enough. I went back in the room. They're just like chatting, you know. My advisor texted me that it was okay to come back because I was chilling in my office watching YouTube videos, also like journaling a little bit, but I didn't get very far because it really wasn't that much time. It was like less than 20 minutes, I think. Then I went back into the room, they're chatting, like small talk or whatever they're talking about, some cruise. And I'm like trying to read the room. I'm looking at one of my committee members and then kind of glancing at my advisor and then glancing like back and forth to kind of read the room. Like, are they looking at me like I'm in trouble, or they're looking at me like kind of with a smile? And I felt like they wouldn't have been, you know, joking around and small talk if I didn't pass, because that seems like a much bigger issue if I didn't pass. So yeah, they said, congrats, like you passed. And I'm like, heck yeah, like I'm so glad to be done with this. And the comments that I received were that I did very well during the exam. When things went a little sideways, I was very good at like going back to first principles. Like if I got it wrong, then I was kind of like thinking, correcting myself. I guess they liked the way that I was like reasoning through the things, or that was like satisfactory enough. And they felt like I was weak on the details, some of the details. So like ranges of phytoplankton abundance around the globe, or ranges of zooplankton abundance. And like those exact numbers I didn't know. I didn't study, right? Because I thought they're not going to fail me over this. And they kind of said, you know, that's something that you'll like learn a little bit more the longer you're exposed to it, but the more you get into your like analysis, for your dissertation, then numbers will be a little bit more important to you. But yeah, I was weak on the numbers for sure. And I know they asked me about like, oh, do you know the scale of like how far this mid-water sediment plume will travel vertically or like horizontally? And I didn't have a good answer of like the horizontal thing, like how far it could spread. So things like that. And I know I was also a little bit weak on like the benthic diversity, because most of my stuff is water column. So they just said, yeah, study like benthic, and we have more papers on it that you can read. So yeah, they said they'll give me some suggestions on some papers that would be good to read in order to improve my understanding of the areas that I was a little bit weaker in. But yeah, that's how it went. And then after, you know, I was like so happy. I don't know if I looked so happy, but I was so happy. And then one of my committee members shook my hand and I was like, heck yeah. Then another one shook my hand and I was like, heck yeah. And then another one that I don't know too well also shook my hand and I was like, heck yeah. So that was a really nice feeling. And I felt like I did a good job. And with my advisor, once like the room was clearing out, I wanted to give her take on like how I did, because mind you, I thought I really struggled through her part of the exam. And she asked me if I was like nervous, and I said, yeah, like definitely. I feel like it went away a little bit once I started talking. So maybe most of the nerves were like last night and a little bit more this morning. I don't know. She said I seemed confident, so I thought that was like a nice plus, a nice compliment, that I seemed confident up there and that I was able to like actually think through things. Like the nerves didn't get to me too much, so that was good. And I was like, heck yeah, because that felt hard. It really was hard. It's just, I don't know, they say hazing and I didn't feel like it was that bad, or I don't think it felt like hazing. It just really felt like, I don't know, they're asking difficult questions to see how you think. They were very nice and like guiding me when I was stuck, or like giving little hints. I don't know, like really grateful that my committee was as like helpful and stuff and nice as they were. Yeah, I thought it could have gone much worse. I thought I was gonna like freeze up or just be really in my head, but I only felt more in my head towards the end. And I think because I was like getting tired and I was thinking like, oh gosh, when is this gonna be over? Like I'm kind of tired of just standing up here and talking. But yeah, that's how it went. And after, once I got the results, really happy and had to like text everyone, ran into some people, told them I passed, and like kind of tried to tell them the areas that were a little bit rougher for me. But like now that I'm thinking about it, it feels like a dream, you know, where it's easier to recall right after, and now I'm having trouble remembering everything that happened because it was just such a long time and such high stress. But I'm glad that I didn't seem as nervous, because definitely felt it. Even in my mind during the whole thing. It's kind of awkward, like standing at the board telling them how it is when sometimes, most of the times, they know like more than you too. But yeah, I'm gonna go home, peacing out for the day. I want to watch a bunch of YouTube videos that I've been getting super behind on. My watch later list is like over 40 videos that I need to watch. Mostly Ali Abdaal because I love him so much, and Diary of a CEO podcast, but yeah, I'm sure I'll get tired of watching these. So I need to find something to do to relax. I'm taking the rest of the day off and I'll be back tomorrow. I have Spanish class. I'll be dealing with our like freezer situation and meeting my friend for coffee or something. She was gonna treat me to a coffee now that it's over with. Yeah, it was really something. And I'm glad it's done. I'm ready to like relax and catch up on life. And now I can't say I'll do it after comps because it's after comps. I hope you guys enjoyed this little rant. If any of this was helpful at all, or you have any more questions on how to prepare for exams mentally, or like, I don't know, just like general tips, let me know. I can help you as much as I can. And good luck on your guys' comps if that's like coming up in the future for you guys. If you're past them, also congrats and like good luck on your defense and everything. That's it. I'm gonna go home.